Few people in the history of social media have exploded as fast as Clavicular, real name Braden Peters. But history dictates that the harder they come, the harder they go. His breakout story was inspiring. A kid from an obscure self-development forum managed to monetize his ascension and turn into a celebrity overnight. But while he took off, he made every effort to paint himself as someone whose sole interest was to become the best version of himself, all while broadcasting the dark toll it took on his health and well-being. From a long list of substances that he gradually became dependent on, to broken relationships with his family and friends, and the increasing amount of effort it took for him to maintain his popularity, Clav became a shell of his former self. Even his looks, which were originally his first priority, are clearly falling apart as he turns into a skeleton for content. Not to mention his never-ending list of legal problems, each worse than the last. Unless he changes things soon, he's probably gonna end up dead.
The consequences of not looking good will always surpass the side effects or the risk profile, always.
Controversial influencer Clavicular.
Clavicular.
People like Clavicular, I just can't.
Streamer Clavicular.
Police say he instigated a violent fight between two women and then exploited it online.
Where's the girls at, bro? Y'all thought you were living this?
This individual stream sniped them a few times. They've run in and had collisions with each other.
He just ended his career and perhaps the life of another individual.
The court is going to release Mr. Peters on his own recognizance.
Get back, sir! Get down to the ground.
Looks are arguably one of the most important things in terms of your success in life.
Clavicular overdosed live on camera.
We'll sign the contract. You can't be on my stream, bro. You're profiting off of me.
There's no way to be at the top and be super successful and still do things that you enjoy.
The only one who cares about him is his dad, and he hates him for telling him to stop doing drugs.
Well, after my video on him, which he apparently enjoyed a lot and was a big fan of, he was inspired to quit one of his favorite substances, crystal meth.
I actually am gonna permanently stop doing that. Whenever I was doing, like, my knees would start to hurt because of, like, the electrolytes. So in a way, like, the electrolytes, like me supplementing them allowed me to do more meth.
And people say my videos capitalize on degeneracy. Meanwhile, I'm clearly having a net positive effect on the youth. Now, before I go any further, I do want to say that Clavicular and his friends have a lot of haters. People who just outright despise them. Clav did react to my last video about him, and he wasn't very thrilled about it from what I could tell. So I do want to say, I don't actually hate this guy, nor do I hate Androgenic or anyone else involved in the Looksmaxxing scene. I definitely don't dislike them more than some of the other people that I've made videos about. In a way, Looksmaxxers like Clavicular, Androgenic, Nocturnal Ken, all of these guys are by far some of the most entertaining e-celebrities I've seen in the last few years or so.
Are you wearing makeup right now?
Yeah. The mythology they've built around Looksmaxxing is genuinely hilarious, and I have to respect it to an extent. With that being said, that doesn't mean every single thing they do is good or cool. And frankly, the Clavicular that exists in theory is much different from how he is in practice. While most, if not all, of Clav's activity during this brief period was on his streams, a Kiwi Farms user named Coffee3 made an effort to clip the more eventful bits, such as a very clearly intoxicated Clav awkwardly cougar-maxing with some Hispanic woman at the club. You gotta respect this guy's grind. Hopefully he can give her some wrinkle-dissolving peptides and then get her on OnlyFans. But even if he wasn't hitting Heisenberg's supply at this point in time, which is honestly questionable, he and his friends were definitely still getting wasted all the time on stream. During this same night of clubbing, one of them fell into what's called a K-hole, which is when you take too much ketamine and completely dissociate, losing sight of reality, it's difficult to move, and sometimes hallucinating, all while being totally incapable of speaking. For context, this guy is named Loritz, but he's most commonly known as Drago online. He's a fellow Looksmaxxer who owns his own fitness brand and has spent a decent amount of time defending Clav on the Looksmaxx forums. He doesn't claim Chad. He easily has Chad-light sexual market value when you factor in that he's facially high-tier normie, tall with a good frame, and gym-maxed. It's kind of crazy to think that a lot of this vocabulary is now just how people talk. Like, this isn't even that crazy of a thing to read. The effects of R9K and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. But going back to that night, as Clav carried Drago out of the club, one distinguished African-American gentleman nearby decided to comment on the situation, only for one of Clav's acquaintances to use one of the forbidden spells against him.
No, we're not!
I didn't know the ancient spell was back in rotation like that, but I guess you can get away with it if you're mid-tier normie and above. After finishing the escort mission and bringing their K-hold friend to safety, Clav and company headed back home for a well-deserved gambling sesh, during which one of his friends pulled out a gun to play around with it or whatever, and he ended up accidentally pointing it directly at the girl Clav was with, although I can't show it uncensored here due to YouTube's rules. His finger is not touching the trigger, but I think generally you probably shouldn't be pointing a loaded firearm at anything you don't intend to shoot at, but that's just me. Maybe these extremely drunk and high people have a better grip on gun safety than anyone else. Now, you may or may not remember this from the last episode, but Clav's manhood doesn't work. I'm not shaming, not all of us can pack a fully functional white monster. Some of us shoot blanks, and others can't shoot at all. But to try and remedy his issue, Clav did the wisest thing anyone could do. He got some gas station dick pills to try and awaken the Ancient One. But after having already taken them, one of Clav's friends started reading off potential side effects online. As it turns out, taking questionable gas station pills that mess with your blood pressure when you're already doing a bunch of drugs and chronically dehydrating yourself to look leaner without actually eating healthy doesn't yield stellar results. Becoming nervous about what could possibly happen, Clav decided to puke the pills back up. Sadly, this meant the meat wagon was not going to leave the station that night, but at least Clav wasn't going to die of a heart attack in his early 20s, so you can call that a win. Although Clav managed to dodge an early grave that day, just a few days later, he and other people in his orbit were looking to do the exact opposite. On Christmas evening, they were looking to have some fun, and by that, I mean coming close to chemically self-inducing organ failure.
I really want to do cocaine today, but I already took a bunch of Adderall. So the vasoconstriction from the Adderall is kind of going to f me up. I could have a heart attack. So I don't know if it's worth the risk. So I might just keep popping Addies like they're candy and have a good night. I really want to do but I can't find it. That's the problem. I can't find where I left all my I think I did it all.
While he flip-flopped on what substances he was going to do that night and where he kept them, he also made some interesting sociological observations about Mr. Beast-style charity content.
I'm thinking maybe I should go around, give away some to homeless people or something. But at the end of the day, every time we do a homeless person giveaway, all they want to do is sell it and get crack. So I could make it easier for them and just give them crack. But I feel like that would be a bad look on me. But it's like, this is the end result regardless, you know?
Then, after properly psyching himself up with his alchemical concoctions, he plays the song HH by Kanye West in his Cybertruck to set the mood. Little did he know what he and that Cybertruck would get involved in. But before we get into that, I need to introduce a new character. Meet Jordan Jr., also known as Rican X, who is basically just this totally deranged, insane person who had been dedicating himself to stream sniping Clav.
Bro. Yo, get off the property, bro.
Bro, I'm trying to gamble with you, Sweater.
Get off the property.
Sweater, I want to gamble with you.
Bro, get off the property, bro.
Gang, you know this is not
Get off the... I don't care.
But I just want to gamble with you.
Bro, get off the property.
I can't gamble with you?
No.
Huh? What's up? What's up with it? What's up with it? Huh? Let's go. Let's go right now. Let's go. Let's go.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, stream sniping is when you track down an IRL streamer to harass them or otherwise disrupt their stream. And this guy was definitely getting in Clav's head during this time period, given that he was constantly showing up to his house and following him down the street.
Yeah, I know the best course of action, but I want to kill each and every one of these guys.
In GTA.
No, I want to.
The hefty fellow here trying to make Clav not say anything outrageous is Marky, who later gave a bit more detail on their conversation about the stream sniper.
I literally told Clav, I was like, bro, you need to just get in your car and get out. Clav wanted to jump them. He's like, Marky, on the count of 3, we're jumping this kid. I'm like, nope. No, we're not.
And just so we're all on the same page, Marky is a streamer who recently got 2 million views on Twitter after he hit a record on the 6-7 game because his webcam thought his man boobs were hands. I don't really know what to say anymore, honestly. But back to Clav, you might have thought that he was just saying all of this stuff to appear tough. But unfortunately, Christmas night was not a silent one for Rican, who got run over by Clav's Cybertruck. I'm gonna make a viewer discretion here and censor when Rican gets run over, but it's important to note that he survived with no major injuries, and there's nothing really gruesome about the video itself.
Is he dead? Hopefully.
We even have an alternate point of view of this incident going down, as Rican had some company with him while he harassed Clav.
Vicar in his Cybertruck. Yo, this man is... What the... Yo! 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 Yo!
When this event initially went down, a lot of people were giving Clavicular grief over it, but to be honest, it's kind of hard to blame the guy. Rican had been harassing him for days on end at this point, and then jumped on the hood of Clav's car to once again piss him off. It's anyone's guess if he had a gun at that point or was planning to do something else dangerous, but frankly, if someone jumps on the hood of your vehicle and you don't know them, and you verbally tell them to get off and they don't for seconds or even minutes, I'm not gonna blame you for putting the pedal to the metal. Instead of running away or anything like that, Clav believed he was well within his legal right and proceeded to call the cops and wait for their arrival to assess the situation.
Oh man, come on, bro. He the good guy.
He is?
The mother on the ground, the bad guy. He did what he was supposed to, run his mother asshole.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Brother's sake.
Yeah.
In the immediate wake of this all happening, Clav's Kick channel went down, leaving some with the conclusion that his streaming career was coming to a close. However, this matter was quickly cleared up, as Aiden Ross was on stream and started covering the developments. First, he called Clav directly to get information about what happened.
Are they saying they're going to detain you?
They haven't spoken to me yet, but I'm not going to say anything without
a lawyer. Correct. Just do not say...
anyone?
Yes, of course I do. Look, just hang tight, record, don't say anything. The good thing is, listen, it's Christmas, and a lot of my lawyers, they don't celebrate Christmas, so you're gonna be good.
Of course not. Perfect.
Don't worry, I'm already on it, dude. I got you. You're good.
Then Aiden showed on stream that Rican had been taken care of by medics and was alive and well, meaning whatever legal consequences this situation may have were definitely going to be a lot less severe than initially imagined. Soon after, Clav was joking about the whole thing on Twitter, replying to a tweet that offered him a brand new Cybertruck and saying that what he did was in self-defense, and then tweeting out a photo of him running the guy over with the caption, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes," which currently stands at 4 million views. He was very ready to capitalize on this incident, and that was also the case for the rest of the internet, as memes about it started flooding Twitter. You did have a few people saying they thought he had just killed someone, calling him Patrick Bateman, and other things like that, but overall, it seemed like nobody with any actual knowledge of the situation were taking it seriously. Some people even put up money on Polymarket, guessing whether or not he would be charged. I think that from the jump, Kick had no intention of permanently banning Clav, considering he was becoming one of their most popular streamers, and a permanent ban would only be a benefit to them if he was genuinely hurting the platform or had done something totally reprehensible on stream.
Hey, it's the guy you ran over. I'm gonna sue the out of you. I have Jewish lawyers, and they'll be in contact with you soon.
Despite the Streamsnipers still being alive, no one knew for certain what the legal outcome of this situation would be. But for the time being, Clav continued doing collabs with other streamers to boost his profile.
Are you gonna be infertile? Do you worry about having children?
So right now, I am infertile, but I'm not able to have a kid right now. But if I wanted to, there's a protocol I can put in place that'd be immediately good again.
Wait, why are you infertile right now?
So it's just like a negative feedback loop when you're not needing to produce testosterone anymore because your body realizes, okay, we're getting it from an exogenous
So you're not producing
source.
any testosterone naturally?
No.
None?
No.
I'm not taking TRT, bro.
In another stream, they also discussed religion and ideology, amidst mentions that Clav needs to do honey packs in order to get hard. To capitalize on his spiking popularity, or infamy depending on how you look at it, conservative political commentator Michael Knowles published an episode of his show that he recorded with Clav. Overall, a lot of the information in it is stuff I went over in my first video. Clav's admission to being hypogonadal, meaning that he has shrunken, dysfunctional testicles as a result of steroid use. He also claims that Looksmaxxing is actually cheap, followed by him saying that most young people need a $35,000 jaw surgery.
Yeah, but I mean, like this next election cycle, who's gonna win? It's gonna be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
I think the most telling segments of this interview are when he starts talking about accelerationism, which is kind of a rationalized shorthand for the world isn't doing good, so I'm just gonna do meth and hit the club and make as much money as possible. He tries to make it seem like he has everything under control or that everything has some greater meaning, but honestly, it doesn't pan out to much more than that.
Because I've heard this from very established people. They'll say, hey, I do this, that, and the other thing, but don't do what I'm doing. And I would say, if you say don't do what I'm doing, why are you doing it?
Because I have enough willpower to be able to taper off of meth.
You're saying if everyone could do it in the way you do it, it's fine, but because most people can't.
It's not necessarily fine, it's still neurotoxic, so maybe I traded some neurotoxicity for temporary leanness to ascend really quickly, because in my context, that was important to me. I was going viral on social media. I needed to get lean as quickly as possible.
I do want to take a moment here to say that I honestly don't think Clav's appearance has really changed much in the last year or so. He, of course, would argue that his ascension through Looksmaxxing methods is the reason why he's so famous now. But realistically, the guy just turned 20 years old. The majority of changes in his appearance over the last few years just come down to reaching the end of puberty instead of bone smashing or whatever else. Then he played Five Nights at Freddy's. It seems like Clav's security guard halo failed to stop him from getting bite-mogged by real animatronic cells, who are between 6.5 to 7 feet tall, by the way. Imagine the frame mug. On December 30th, Rican put out a statement announcing that he'd be live streaming Tuesday to address the situation. But before he could even say anything, on January 1st, 2026, Clav fired up a stream with the announcement that no criminal charges were being pressed, meaning there would be no legal battle whatsoever. To celebrate, he drank and popped some pills, which temporarily transformed him into a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with partial palsy.
Dude, they got the beggars on.
And boys, I do have bumps on my dick. I'm not even trolling.
What are you gonna do about the bumps?
Nothing, bro. I spread my virus.
But these bumps were the least of the problems his broken pea shooter had gotten into, because over the next few days, Clav was experiencing some serious trouble in paradise with his girlfriend, Violet.
They're the only in all of the United States that could be in a 50th story penthouse, everything paid for, going to clubs, everything, and still every second of the day.
Oh, you think I every second of the day? Well, why don't we share what you did last night so that they can understand why today I was not having it. I wanted to go home. Let's share.
I don't give a
Share with them?
I don't even remember last night.
Well, then
or
share
the night
with them.
I don't even remember last
Don't call
night.
me a I'm gonna get up and leave.
After getting Longhouse mogged by this total void, people started getting curious as to what exactly she was referring to when she says, "What happened last night?" Later on, in a message she posted to his chat, she specifies that Clav said he wanted to hit her. Now, this is a pretty big claim, to be honest, and frankly, everyone involved in Clav's circle is incentivized to engage in some level of dishonesty if they want to get him to do something for them or get the public to believe something about him. Plus, I mean, let's be real, guys. She is a void, so we have to take anything she says with a grain of salt. With all that being said, Violet then added some context in a TikTok comment where she wrote the following. He crossed a boundary that's been deeply drawn between us from the beginning. No speaking on each other on the internet. He was beyond high and does not even remember the lengths he went to this morning. He intentionally ruined me to chat. Y'all don't see behind the scenes, but all I do is try to make his life easier and peaceful. Just because things got active on stream does not mean it speaks on our entire relationship. He has done horrible things in the last couple days y'all would probably praise him for, ending it with forcing, oversharing, and creating lies to chat for entertainment, saying he would fix it. Spent the whole day telling me how on stream he'd fix it. Next stream came up and not 2 minutes in, I was asking him again, please, I just want to have fun, please stop with the weird insinuations, but he just kept at it. I don't know this Clav. I don't know why he specifically tries to make me out as a bad human, so I don't know how to respond. All of our friends don't know what's going on either, but they do know he specifically throws darts at me when I'm on stream, making me out to be someone I'm very far from. Given how vague Violet is here, it's hard to tell what she's even trying to say, but from what I can gather, he spoke about her negatively to his chat, and they have some agreement where they're not supposed to talk each other on stream, and when she asked him to stop, he just kept going. Whatever the details really are, clearly things were not going well between the two of them, and soon enough, they wouldn't be going well between Clav and his fan base either. I'm not going to show it here, but essentially someone found old pictures of Clav's mom in a bikini and posted it to his community, followed by pictures of his dad, and then really old pictures of Clav himself, all of which made him feel extremely disturbed. And frankly, it's hard to blame him. Those people are kind of weird. Then, as he was conducting interviews on Discord to find new mods for his stream, someone decided to pull this.
Dude, the people that dox you, they're like complete bro. I mean, your mom is quite thick. That did make me a little bit erect, but...
Besides these incidents, Clav just kind of signaled a general dissatisfaction with his viewers, complaining about the kind of things they said in chat and the fact that they were unappreciative considering his aggressive stream schedule. It seemed like things all around weren't quite going his way, or at least he felt that they weren't. After spending $6,000 on a yacht with girls for an overnight stream, but then losing motivation or interest in doing anything halfway through it, he called his dad to vent and complain about them, to which his dad instantly replied by asking if he's talking about Violet. To me, this means that Clav probably called his dad to talk about Violet recently, and that's why he had been in such a bad state of mind for all the previous days. On top of that, soon after they had their public spat, Clav apparently had a pregnancy scare with a girl who may or may not have been Violet. As far as I can tell, nothing ever came of this because, as we already know, his swimmers are on the relaxed side due to all the steroids. He himself acknowledges this during his studio session where he recorded a diss track to the women in his life.
By the way, I'm never going to be able to do it any better than what they did. This is just my version.
Jenny is a bitch, and that body kind of mid, but I still that bitch, and I nut in her shit. But I'm not trying to have no kid. I'm on steroids and shit.
Yeah.
One day after this musical masterpiece was produced, a fascinating event took place. One of the first people to put Clav on, so to speak, was far-right live streamer Nick Fuentes.
I am a riskless, unfuckable chud.
And Clav would collab with him again, as well as a whole other cast of characters. Andrew Tate, the former most popular Red Pill content creator, was there, as well as his brother. There's Justin Waller, someone who you probably just know as a friend of the Tates. Sneako, former YouTuber turned Red Pill creator who had a beef with Critical. Myron Gaines, who is one half of the Fresh and Fit podcast, where they bring on OnlyFans girls to make fun of them.
All the stars are here.
Depending on who you are, this is either a really interesting gathering of people or the worst thing you've ever seen. Maybe some mix of the two. This event went down in history as they all went to the club together and then played Kanye's HH song both in the car on the way there and at the club itself. The aftermath, as expected, was a bit messy. In a strange move, Andrew Tate was quick to condemn the situation, claiming he didn't ask for the song to be played and had nothing to do with it. And the reason why I say this is strange is because it's Andrew Tate. Isn't this supposed to be like the edgiest guy on the internet? Why does he even care? Then the club owner got in trouble and had to make a statement apologizing for everything that happened. And finally, Kanye West himself expressed being unhappy that his song was now being brought up and played again. For context, at this point, Kanye had released a, how do I put this? Denazified remix of the song, and he was basically doing a big apology tour saying he feels bad about all of the anti-Semitism, etc. Personally, my favorite version of this song is the one where he brings the holiday joy, but that's besides the point. Obviously, the audience of all of these guys thought the whole thing was hilarious, but outside of that, there were a lot of negative reactions, both from those who found the whole event morally questionable due to the song, to a lot of others just making fun of the whole thing. The Tate brothers ran from it as soon as they could, but the rest basically stuck around to stream together, which yielded some pretty entertaining moments.
Total Sneako death clavicular, as Emperor's Jester should pull Sneako's gun and pull the gun on Myron. Third world is deported to Epstein Island.
Dude, that's the one thing.
You're banned.
I don't know why you're hating on Epstein so much.
You guys, what do you have? You have got to say.
By the way, for whatever reason, if you actually caught any of this stream, people like Tristan keep making oddly positive references to Jeffrey Epstein's aura, with Clav saying he needs to get that sort of reputation when Tristan Tate says he gets called a human trafficker. I know these guys say a lot of things for shock value, and when it comes to something just being a joke, I'm not going to raise any alarms. But here it does go a bit beyond joking, honestly. Like, you're saying that Epstein has aura in the same stream as you're hanging out with two accused human traffickers. Like, what? I don't know. It just seems strange.
I want a virgin wife at 16 who's gonna obey me. That's what I want. So I messaged her. She's like, I'm only 16. I was like,
give off. Know about me.
To me, what's really interesting here is that Sneako was the only one consistently excluding himself from the Epstein conversation, while the others doubled down. This seems to contradict his prior stance from a debate with Critical, where he said that adults should be able to marry teenagers, but I digress. There's a lot of wires being crossed here, okay? It's hard to track what's going on. To no one's surprise, this little antic got Clav even more heat, and the heat came in the form of more Streamsnipers, although he didn't have his Cybertruck to run them over with this time, so it went a little different. While Clav was waiting in line to get in the club, someone in the crowd outside began loudly making fun of him. And Clav's only real response was to be like, "Who are you? You're nobody. You're nothing."
Yeah, you really mugged, pal. Sorry, who are you?
Clav did his best to keep his cortisol levels low, but it got a little hard when the sniper got the crowd to join in his demands for Clav to drop the forbidden chant. After this, Clav tried to get the guy to f off by just saying, nobody wants you here.
Please just go home. Nobody wants you here.
But the crowd was actually backing this guy up, so Clav was forced to acquiesce to his pinkety-drinkety and his smartphone. The telltale sign of a brutal mogging victim.
Hey! Do y'all want me here? Yeah! Let's go, Clav! 1v1, I want him here! Looksmaxxing!
I'd also like to add here that the consequences of American frat culture have been a disaster for the human race. To my friend in high school who joined one in college, if you're watching this is all your fault. To cope with the situation, Clav proceeded to infamously Jestermaxxing the club, which was documented in the following tweet that got 7 million views. Clavicular realized that Jestermaxxing at the club is actually peak fun. Crying emoji. Clavicular just cracked the code. Jestermaxxing at the club is officially the new meta. Forget the mysterious guy in the corner trope or the stiff arm drink hold. We are entering the era of high energy, zero ego, chaotic fun. If you aren't the reason the floor is laughing, are you even living? I think this is as good a moment as any to make a few observations. During the early days of YouTube, there was an actual market for a kind of online content where poorly socialized people learn the basic fundamentals of human interaction so they could go out and have a good time. As a matter of fact, all the way back in the 1950s, there was already an equivalent for this, when informational videos were made about what to do when dating, with the intent of making the youth a bit less awkward and a bit more socially functional. However, I think that there's an increasingly widening canyon between that kind of stuff and whatever this stuff is. It gets to a point where a lot of the problems being supposedly addressed by these maxings are completely imagined, and there's no measurable long-term benefit to giving it the time of day. A lot of it is unironically the age-old strategy of creating a problem to sell the solution, and consequently, a lot of these solutions they sell are just repackaged versions of the most mundane ideas you can think of. In this case, having fun dancing in the club became Jestermaxxing. Being in good shape turned into taking steroids and doing meth to get lean. The entire concept of Looksmaxxing and trying to become socially competent, which again isn't necessarily bad, gets poisoned by this kind of nonsense. And it's weird because at one point it seems like this stuff was actually designed to help people, and still could hypothetically. Now, with this point being made, it's also important to note that as this whole phenomenon drifts further and further away from its original intent, the real purpose is as simple as it gets: clip farming for money. As noted by a KF user named, okay, I actually can't read this guy's name on YouTube, so we'll just call him The Tickler. There was a brief moment in late January where Clav's Instagram comments were flooded with Indian people claiming that Clav scammed them. What could they possibly be talking about? Well, as explained in a YouTube video by Devin Nash, content creators like Clav don't bother trying to promote their own content directly. Instead, they pay a network of clippers who basically get bonuses if they manage to make a clip go viral. If in the past few months, your Twitter or Instagram feed was polluted with clips of Clavicular doing nothing of interest, you can thank one of these Hindu gentlemen in Clav's comments who apparently went unpaid at this point in time.
March to April, you can see our #1 guy here, Clavicular, who you may have heard of. You may have been like, this guy just exploded. I see videos of him everywhere. What's going on? I never searched for this dude. What's happening? Has generated over 2.2 billion, with a B, billion views in a single month. How is this possible? Well, he has 1,610 paid clippers that are working full-time to put this stuff out on the internet.
None of this stuff is organic. It's all artificial and astroturfed. And part of the appeal is baiting you into engaging with it to say, who cares about this? Even negative feedback has been successfully monetized. On one hand, it's hard to blame any streamer who does pay an army of clippers because that's just the way the game is played now. Popularity online is completely pay to win. But on the other, it means that it's hard to figure out how successful anyone actually is because a lot of the attention they get isn't really organic. With all that being said, on January 24th, Clavicular decided to toothbrush max.
Clavicular started toothbrush maxing, and it might be the new method.
That's pretty good form, but it pales in comparison to the real toothbrush maxer, Daniel Larson. Clav's lucky that Daniel is locked up, otherwise a toothbrush competition could take place, and it wouldn't look good. A day later, Clav met with former YouTube prankster turned predator catcher Vitaly, with the highlight of their meetup being when they left the stream audio on as they went to the bathroom, and this moment happened.
This is a big device. I don't know if I like this.
Bro, this looks like a screwdriver.
Okay.
Alright, 10 seconds.
That
What you just heard is audio of Vitaly injecting something into Clav's junk. We don't know for sure what it was, but some have speculated that it's Caverject, one of the most hardcore erectile dysfunction treatments. It's usually reserved for adult film veterans whose meat needs a zap to get it into action. Clav and Vitaly did also make some predator catch content together, but it was honestly pretty boring. I feel like because Vitaly is from an older era of YouTube, he actually knows how to crank out entertainment out of a lot of situations, while Clav usually just kind of waits around for the content to manifest around him so that his horde of clippers can try to make it go viral. With that being said, Vitaly is currently facing a lawsuit for falsely accusing another man of being a creep, so I'll probably be doing a video about him soon. About a week later, Clav once again mentioned on stream that he was probably gonna have a kid, but this time he specifies that the mom would be Violet, but then he quickly moves past it and changes the topic. I'm pretty sure he's just lying for the clip here, but on the off chance that he does procreate, I'm honestly not sure what's gonna happen to that kid. Because around the same exact time he brought up the possibility of being a dad, he also announced he would be streaming for 2 days straight. And to think that just a little while prior to this, he was talking about how he was quitting crystal meth. There's just no way this guy does a 2-day stream without being on some kind of speed. Sadly, people's respect for him has plummeted to such a low that even Kick support was violating him in the most extravagant ways.
Hey, it's Jason from Kick. You're a retarded.
I'd like to mention that this support message also said he was sub 5 and should start rope maxing. How dark. February began in a similar fashion, as Clav was a part of a brawl in a parking lot which involved Kick streamer Sush. Although I'm not sure why this fight even happened, and it doesn't seem like it had anything to do with Clav directly, he was just there for some reason. With that being said, relationships being in the public eye can often leave room for some rough waters, and that appeared to be the case for Clav and his girl Violet. At one point, they had a pretty bad argument in a restaurant, resulting in Clav storming out and leaving her behind. Later on in the stream, Clav started going to clubs to talk to girls, bringing some of them back home, which resulted in a fight between them and Violet, which I don't think I can even show here due to YouTube's terms of service. Some people on Twitter saw this whole incident as Clav purposely instigating a conflict between them and then intervening just to allow Violet to beat up on the girl he brought home. It seems like the VOD was deleted pretty soon after, so it was difficult for people to even understand what exactly was going on. But the claims were somewhat confirmed by the audio of the incident, where Clav can be heard telling Violet to beat this girl up.
You want me to? I'm gonna beat her ass. Beat this ass. Oh shit. Beat this ass, Violet. Yeah, bro. You really want to do this shit, bitch? Beat her ass, Violet. Bitch.
This girl that Violet was fighting is Jenny Popach. At the time, the narrative was that she was flirting with Clavicular, and that's why Violet went sicko mode on her. It pissed off Clav quite a bit that she was even on his stream, as he replied to someone saying she was only there to promote her OnlyFans by saying, "I missed my steak segment because of these voids." Beyond pissed. To counter this narrative, Jenny herself made a video addressing the situation.
I realized that I was set up by Clav and his girlfriend for this to happen. They planned to beat me up basically once I got back to their Airbnb. His girlfriend allows him day in and day out to sleep with other women, if it's for money, if it's for the stream. She is always there behind the scenes letting this happen, and I can assure you, after he's done using women, he throws them out. He humiliates other women for this girl.
Already, we have some information here that, although it's already been heavily implied and can be deduced from Clav's previous streams, it's interesting to hear it coming from someone who witnessed it firsthand. According to Jenny, in the lead up to the incident, the trajectory of their stream was pointing in a very different direction than the one it ultimately went.
I was there to be friends and do a stream, and I was invited there on their behalf. They wanted me there. Clearly that ties into me being set up. On the ride back, and this is why it's set up, he continuously asked me, "Do you think you could win my girlfriend in a fight? Do you think you would win in a fight with Violet? Who do you think would win? Do you want to fight her?" To which I responded, "I'm not interested in getting in between you and your girlfriend." I essentially said, "I'm not interested in fighting anyone. I'm here for a good time." And I just want to note that earlier in the day, my friend is my witness, that I had spoken to this girl over the phone to reassure her that I didn't want her man, and she could watch the entire live. I did not care about being with him. But even so, you already allow him to have sex with other women. So why are you picking on me? Why are you targeting me? And why are you bullying me when I'm simply here on behalf of your boyfriend? He invited me. She is coming for the wrong person.
Now, I'm going to try not to pick a side too hard here because this is partially a he said, she said, and this entire thing is beyond idiotic. However, just by following the basic chain of events, what Jenny is saying here does make sense. If it's understood between Clav and Violet that he'll get with other women on occasion, then there's no reason to single Jenny out, especially when she's going out of her way to signal that she's not going to do anything to disrespect Violet. As far as I know, there haven't been any other instances of Violet getting angry or aggressive toward anyone, with the exception of the occasional argument with Clav himself. Jenny continues.
His girlfriend comes down the stairs. She comes up to me, very aggressive, very intentional, like she knew this was what she was supposed to do, this was planned. I grab my phones, I start backing away from her because I'm like, I'm not getting in a physical fight. I don't need to fight a 26-year-old woman. Her boyfriend backs me up into a corner and grabbed my face. He grabbed me here, and I have this on video. Clavicular stopped his security guard from breaking up the fight.
It's one thing to stand by idly as a fight breaks out. At most, you can call that questionable when it's clearly not much of a fair or justified fight. But based on what Jenny's saying, it seems like Clav was actively intervening on Violet's behalf, making it considerably more unfair than it already was. Now, after hearing Jenny's side of the story, I decided to search around online for the full VOD. As we all know, we can't take these voids at face value. And as far as I can see here, this is basically what happened. Once the argument broke out, Violet repeatedly told Jenny to leave, and she just didn't for some reason. Clav then told her to leave repeatedly. Once again, she stayed. At one point, he kind of gently gestures for her to leave, and once again, she doesn't. But the fight itself seems to start when Violet smacks Jenny and then grabs her, and from there they roll around on the floor a bit. Clav at one point definitely does gesture to a security guard to not get involved, and then at one point he does hold Jenny while Violet beats on her. This whole thing is a total disaster. Jenny should have just left when they told her to leave. Violet shouldn't have beat her, and Clav should not have encouraged it. This is all on stream. It's like he wanted to get arrested. But for the time being, he managed to avoid the legal consequences for this incident. At the same time, another situation was threatening his career. On February 11th of 2026, New York Times journalist Joe Bernstein announced on Twitter that the Maricopa County attorney dropped charges against Clav due to no reasonable likelihood of conviction. This all stemmed from a completely different incident on stream, where Clav was caught and kicked out of the club for being there illegally, and then proceeded to confront the club owner, claiming that he was the reason the club was so crowded, and thus the owner should just let him stay. In this case, the owner was smarter than to let him do something blatantly illegal on camera, and he maintained that Clav needed to get out. Soon after, it's unknown whether it was the owner, the club security, or just a random viewer, but someone called the cops on him, telling them what he was up to, which is what got him arrested and charged for the fake ID and the Adderall he had on him. He called Drago to try and get bonded out as soon as possible, but he had to wait because the closest thing to a friend Clav had at the moment was too busy gambling.
Yo, hello? Yo. Yeah, how's it going, bro? Good, bro. Good, we're gambling and we got the lawyer, it's all booked.
Regardless, he attended a court hearing, and for a moment, he seemed genuinely scared that his streaming career could be over if this situation wasn't resolved quickly. But in the end, the charges were all dropped. Meanwhile, the situation with Jenny died down, and Clav moved on with his regularly scheduled programming. That is, until February 6, when the most devastating event in history took place and permanently altered the course of fate itself. Viewer discretion is advised here. I don't want to be the cause of any heart attacks, but I will say the information I'm about to share with you is pretty intense. This situation is totally fucked. During his kick stream, Clav ran into Varus, also known as the ASU Fratleader, and what followed is only spoke of in whispers. Clav was brutally frame-mogged. Could you believe that? One guy had a significantly wider shoulder length than the other guy. In 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand's chauffeur Leopold took a wrong turn as he tried to avoid the city center, which ended up exposing the Duke to his eventual assassin. With this mistake of happenstance, a domino effect was set in motion that led to the First World War and consequently also the Second World War. Sometimes, one seemingly insignificant event butterfly effects into something much greater. Not this bullshit though. Literally nothing happened. Varus just had a wider wingspan. Maybe he is on more steroids, I don't know. And it made Clav insecure for a few seconds. The total inanity of this moment was such that the tweet ballooned to over 14 million views, as people en masse questioned the relevance of this crap and joked about it. As for Varus himself, he's a fellow Looksmaxxing TikToker whose main claim to fame, besides Framemogging Clav, was getting called out by fitness Instagram content creator Joey Swole for filming a flex video in a gym locker room with other people in the background who didn't consent to being recorded. But this was largely forgotten as Virus became a bit of a celebrity in his own right, albeit to a much lesser degree than Clavicular and even other lesser-known Looksmaxxing influencers. With that being said, there is a deeper story here that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. Virus ended up flying to Miami to do streams with Clav, excited at the prospect of building his own profile with other influencers. But the moment he got there, Clav offered him a streaming contract. The details supposedly being that Clav would get 80% of Virus's revenue in exchange for giving him connections and bringing him on stream all the time.
You gotta sign a contract, buddy. You wanna be on my stream, you gotta sign a contract. If you don't sign the contract, you can't be on my stream, bro. You're profiting off of me. 80-20 contract, 3 years. The second I instantly blow up, every single thing I earn, 80-20 contract, 3 years under Clav. This is his whole goal, allegedly. This is his whole goal. I'm gonna quit streaming in 1 year. I'm gonna have smaller streamers keep streaming. I'm gonna profit off of them for the rest of my life.
Another claim Virus makes here is that Clav has become an OnlyFans manager, signing girls to take their revenue with the promise that if they oblige, he'll bring them on stream so they can promote their business, if you want to call it that.
Somebody on Clav's team offered me a contract for his OnlyFans agency, and I heard that the split is 80-20.
Out of anything Clav does, this is probably the thing I think is the most worthy of criticism. This is a guy who got famous talking about the ills of society, how women are too promiscuous, and how hookup culture has destroyed the ability for the average guy to make it.
I think that young men are arguably living in the worst dating market that has ever existed, with how bad hypergamy is, with you know, a lot of the tendencies of modern women.
Right, and women are just outrageously hypergamous.
What does that mean?
It means that they're trying to date above their looks level. Because dating is a huge part of life, like one of the most important, like the intergender relationships. So for that to kind of fall apart, you know, that could lead to a huge societal collapse, like in a lot of different ways.
So I would say it's kind of my mission to not only raise awareness to this, but sort of bring about a solution instead of just the typical red pill complaining and that sort of thing that you see.
If what Virus is saying here is true, then I guess Clav's solution is to just make the problem 10 times worse by signing OnlyFans girls and making money off of their explicit photos. This is very similar to Andrew Tate, who originally made money running a cam girl business and then became famous by talking about the evils of loose women and whatever else. It's the same thing I mentioned earlier, creating a problem and then selling the solution. Whether or not Clav is actually making money directly from these girls, he does constantly bring them on stream and give them promotion, undoubtedly contributing to the main issue he claims to detest. It's stuff like this that makes it clear that all of the self-improvement parts of Looksmaxxing are ultimately a ruse to its most popular figures. Clav used it as a thin veneer to become famous, before ultimately engaging in the worst parts of society that he claims to hate. You can extend this to other parts of his content as well. How much is it really helping the world to gamble on stream in exchange for casino money? In what way is it spreading any kind of positive message or helping literally anyone but himself? The people who use his affiliate codes to gamble are definitely not making their life any better at all. If Clav was someone like Togi, who's just openly a total degenerate trying to have some fun without any real message, then it would be one thing. But his whole career is wrapped in this idea that he's somehow helping people. In what way? I do not know. But we're getting a little too cerebral here, so let's get back to our timeline. In mid-February of 2026, Clavicular attended a Fashion Week show in New York, hosted by the Remelia Corporation. Now, the reason I mention them is because it's been speculated that they're somehow involved with or funded by Peter Thiel. This began a prolonged rumor that Thiel is somehow directly involved with Clav's rise to fame. At this point, Thiel's involvement wasn't confirmed, but one thing was absolutely certain. Regardless of where Clav went, trouble was soon to follow. During the Fashion Week party, Clav got involved in some kind of scuffle that concluded in what looked like Drago attempting a really terrible armbar on somebody. It seems fighting was the order of the day because soon after, it was announced that Virus was going to be fighting the #2 ranked Chad Androgenic, who had been tirelessly hunting him down ever since he framemogged Clav. As far as I know, the boxing match that was supposed to happen between them never took place, but the two of them did eventually have a mog-off, and unfortunately, Virus framemogged once again, shattering Androgenic's hype mog halo in the process. Brutal. But okay, let me drop the shenanigans a bit to make an observation. While all of this tomfoolery was going on, both the New York York Times and GQ dropped some puff pieces on Clav, which really makes me question a lot of things. Ever since 2015 or so, there's been tons of extremely negative articles about incels or other right-wing adjacent internet groups. However, Clav pops up and the media is busting all over the place. The Looksmaxxers' answer for this is that when you're handsome, you can get away with anything. But it seems more specific than that, because there have been conventionally handsome guys before who have gotten a ton of crap for minor things. Like when Henry Cavill said he was scared of women, and the news reacted to it by saying he dated a teen because he had a 19-year-old girlfriend. That makes me think it's not just about mogging. It's specifically about promoting body dysmorphia and cosmetic procedures that makes these outlets glaze you for whatever reason, even if you say you want some of that Epstein aura. I'm pretty used to seeing people who are strange get a lot of popularity online, but seeing it come from conventional media is kind of a new thing, especially when Clav's physical decay is so easy to see if you pay attention. For example, at one point when he visited his parents' house, he works out for 30 seconds and then immediately says he feels lightheaded and exhausted.
I'm already tired from that, bro. I actually feel lightheaded. Dude, I'm not even trolling. I'm actually exhausted.
Keep in mind, this guy used to be in decent shape. Now he's just been mummified by peptides and constantly runs on speed and a literal McDonald's. Not even a refined order like a double cheeseburger with Sprite. I could never. After my last video on him, Clav and the Looksmaxxing community had a brief period where it looks like they were headed in the direction of becoming more established content creators. But by February, things were kind of coming apart. On the 15th, Androgenic met up with none other than Connor Murphy. Yes, that Connor Murphy, the one who thinks he's God, drinks his own piss, and went to Southeast Asia to do adult videos with ladyboys. This clip got nearly 3 million views on Twitter and probably way more elsewhere because Andro and Connor look like they're suffering from some kind of early stage of Bogendorf syndrome. I'm actually worried about Androgenic. Like, can we help this guy? Someone give him something to help him. What is going on? Next up on Clav's media tour was the Adam Friedland show. And although it goes over a lot of what I've already extensively covered, it has some interesting moments.
What's it like for a girl having sex with you?
Like 1 minute, and then you have to go to a clinic a few days later.
You hit it quick?
Yeah, bro, I gotta get back to work. I'm a busy guy, yeah.
You're such a legend, it's crazy.
Dude,
you're such a legend. Why are girls more flattered about premature ejaculation? If a girl prematurely ejaculated, I'd be like, I'm the best at sex. What? A girl should be like, wow, I was incredible today. Yeah.
Dude, it's about my time, right? It's not about...
Oh, so you make yourself bust really fast?
Yeah, bro, I'm not here to flatter anyone.
So then just jack off, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Wait, what is the Looksmaxxing?
You ever do the stranger?
What's the stranger?
Oh, dude, I love telling people about this one.
What is it?
So basically, you gotta sit on your hand until...
Oh, yeah, classic. Yeah, the stranger. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Have you ever done the Tennessee pile driver?
I kind of want to know. What is it?
It's you're stooping on a wall, and it's the force is so big that you smash through the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever done the Darwin?
The Darwin. Maybe by accident.
You put your soft dick in a girl's mouth and then it evolves.
Yeah, I've done that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, Clav has to interact with someone who actually has some personality, and it baits him into being personable for once in his life. It's because of moments like these that I can honestly see a world where Clav is a much different content creator. But unfortunately, it's not the world we live in, because Clav prefers to do what just makes him money fast, even if it's low quality.
Your merch is tough, I bought it. My merch is man. That was just a little cash grab to pay for my legal fees. If you bought that, sir, you're a reach. Let's be real.
Dude, all you care about is money? Why the else would I stream? You think this is a passion project? Of course, all I care about is money. Like, what are you talking about?
As the month of February came to a close, Clav was swatted, although it was handled pretty well and thankfully didn't lead to anything bad happening. He also got 2 more significant pieces of media coverage, one by Playboy magazine and an interview with Piers Morgan.
I might argue that I'm mogging you right now.
I might argue that I'm mogging you right now.
But despite the media continuing to push Clav into greater cultural relevance, he continued to be dysfunctional as time went on. In mid-March, during one of his McDonald's sessions, he he found cheese on his burger after ordering it without cheese and immediately broke down into tears. This moment got 13 million views on Twitter and attracted a gaggle of sick, demented foids and foidlites who began treating Clav like a child. And for whatever reason, this translated into wanting to inject heroin into him, slap him, punch him, make him cry more and moan in pain, peg him, and kill him because white men suffering is attractive to this person. Sometimes I feel like we deserve every single thing we get. I don't know why this is being admired. There's only one acceptable reaction when a fast food place gets your order wrong.
Yeah, why y'all put cheese on my cheeseburger?
Seriously though, I think this is one of the times where Looksmaxxing is brutally true. This would not get any reaction if he was a fat chud. But alas, this is how our unfair world operates. On the same day, he publicly complained that his manhood could no longer stand on its own. In a desperate attempt to cope with his condition, Clav proceeded to pop 1 million addies and go buck wild at the club, and then hop on stream with Vitaly and Adam22 to shoot some ED medicine into Adam's junk.
Press it. Go.
Hold it.
I guess helping another man with the condition makes him feel better about himself or something. I don't really know. More and more, it seems like Clav was growing impatient, or he was downright unwilling to do his usual jester routines for conventional media, even if it would bring him more views and money. In March, he basically walked out during 2 separate interviews, one with 60 Minutes and another with Andrew Callaghan from Channel 5, both for similar reasons.
You've obviously shared company with Andrew Tate and other, dare I say, rather controversial figures. Why do you
have a nice day.
spend time with people like that?
Are you trying to, I see you want to make this political and stuff.
Not at all, not at all. I'm just
No,
curious.
that's what you want to do is like, you know, you have 2 questions, so you want to,
not at all.
you want to end
not
it and talk about, you know,
I'm just
politics,
curious.
right? I didn't have time to look into, you know, anything about potentially, you know, who your wife cheated with, but don't try to go down that line of questioning with me, all right? Because I'm not doing any political gesturing.
I'm not married.
When you wake up every single morning and you take a look in the mirror, you're 100% satisfied with every single thing. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, dude. All right, well, I guess that's just, if you want to be completely disingenuous, that's fine with me. I guess there's just no point to continue.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In Clav's words, he felt that the interviews veered too much into politics and away from the specifics of Looksmaxxing, and thus, the interviewers were disingenuously trying to get him to say something that would make him look bad. Obviously, I can't lie about things here. This is a somewhat justified concern with journalists. Clav doesn't want the interviews to turn into some conversation about how Looksmaxxing is actually about hating women, or how it's some far-right thing. At the same time, if you watch the interview with Andrew did actually talk about Looksmaxxing with Clav quite a bit, but Clav's stated issue with him was that he didn't ask enough about Looksmaxxing. So frankly, it's hard to understand why he ended the interview at all.
You didn't even ask a Looksmaxxing question, like at all. You don't need to be in the Looksmaxxing community to ask a Looksmaxxing question.
I think we've been talking about Looksmaxxing this whole time.
We've been talking about like the philosophy behind it, and it's...
You want me to ask you a scientific question about Looksmaxxing?
I just think it's kind of funny how like that's really never been done with the amount of like media appearances.
Maybe people don't know you want to be asked that. Well, now they will.
Well, that's quite literally what your companies, your
What do you mean your companies? You think I work for like Time Warner or something?
Your press companies, you work for Channel 5?
It's a YouTube channel called Channel 5. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm the CEO of my own company. I don't have any agenda to play here.
Holy semantics, dude. Like,
if Clavicular's content itself was all about how to improve your looks, then I guess this would be somewhat understandable. But the fact of the matter is, it's not. He does do collabs with far-right figures or generally controversial people like Andrew Tate. So obviously people will ask him about it, as it's an interesting facet of his content. At the same time, in place of Looksmaxxing, he voluntarily streams himself on 10 different substances, saying all kinds of crazy shit multiple times a week. He gambles on stream. He talks to OnlyFans girls all day on stream. None of his own content is actually about Looksmaxxing, and yet he expects anybody who interviews him to completely focus on bone smashing or Reddit True Tide, I guess.
I've genuinely never had a single person ask me specifics about how do these two things interact, or how does Looksmaxxing differ from this age to this age? Is it still possible to Looksmax? Like, there's no effort really behind the questions that you guys prepare, seemingly. It just seems to be a lot of like gotcha mode, like clip farm.
I think that Clav's stated intention of ending the interviews because they don't ask about Looksmaxxing enough, or because it could be negative PR for him, is actually just a good excuse to end it. It's much more likely that without the constant use of stimulants mixed with alcohol, Clav has to reveal himself to be what he truly is: unhappy. To further drive this point home, during one of his club outings from this period, he got slapped by a girl and proceeded to maul about it for hours and threatened to sue her and her family into bankruptcy. A day later, he tried to enjoy himself at the club again, only to start having some kind of panic attack, saying that he felt nervous and needed to leave. His situation got so bad that it devolved into Bossmanjack-Maxxing, gambling into the void in a drunken, drugged-up stupor, mumbling incoherently into the night.
All a bunch of leeches. Everyone's a leash, you know, because before I had any money or fame, you know, it's not like anyone would ever want to spend any time with me. So you guys go home. You guys go home.
Finally, he announces that he will soon be going back on meth.
Yeah, we've got some on Tuesday, I believe.
Whether he was already on it or not, the quality of decision-making skills Clav showed with his substance use was exactly the same he had with everything else. In late March, during a stream, he was out in the Everglades, and during this outing, he decided to shoot a dead alligator. He also tried to shoot down a drone, although he missed. It turns out that any sort of alligator-related shooting, even if it's unloading a clip into a corpse, is the kind of thing you need a license for in Florida. If you combine that with trying to shoot down the drone, it makes for two possibly illegal acts that Clav live-streamed himself committing. And that's if simply shooting a gun in the Everglades doesn't already constitute a criminal act, given how protected that environment is. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to refrain from any more speculation on what kind of consequence could come from this, but it's safe to say that Clav was purposely stomping around on thin ice after multiple near misses with law enforcement. At some point, this was bound to go wrong. Within hours of the alligator incident, Clav simply vanished, and as his goons were manning his stream, they announced that something bad happened and they were going to have to end it. They tried to delete the VOD to prevent more people from seeing what went down, but obviously it was too late. The clip was already all over the internet.
Me and Clav don't have to agree what I do or he does sometimes. I still with him. Okay? Oh, never mind. He just got arrested.
Immediately after, Clav's kick account went down and his mugshot came out. Most people immediately assumed he had been arrested because of the alligator thing, but it was actually due to what happened weeks earlier with Jenny. And as such, both Clav and Violet were taken into custody. So in a way, Clav shooting the alligator kind of saved him from that story getting more attention. He had committed so many crimes on stream by this point that people just genuinely couldn't figure out why he was arrested. But the ultimate consequence of this arrest was far greater than the law. Clav was outed as frauding his height.
You can't keep getting away with it!
His booking record shows that he's actually 5'11" and not 6'2" like he'd been claiming for years at this point.
People under the height of 6 foot start talking, just turn your brain off. There's never a good thing for them that they say.
To make matters worse, the Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission, as well as the Lieutenant Governor of Florida, came out to address Clav's misadventures in the Everglades, saying that they would be investigating. Let's just say Clav didn't have great legs to stand on at this point, both in the literal and figurative sense. His arrest had a bond of just $1,000, which he paid instantly, leaving jail to go right back to streaming. The last time he was in legal trouble, he publicly stated that he sold crappy merch to get together the money for the legal fees. This time, however, he opened a company, and I can only assume this has to do with the fact that record label manager Whack 100 got Clav a club. The details of this deal were deliberately kept secret, as Clav refused to give out any information related to it. But according to him, his bond conditions made it so that he wasn't even allowed to drink or go to clubs, so he couldn't even make content at clubs, let alone own or manage one. However, his adherence to the bond conditions is questionable. He still proudly took 30 milligrams of Adderall a day, combined with a bunch of his other Looksmaxxing related compounds. And on the 3rd of April, just a week after his arrest, he was out at the club. If him being there wasn't questionable enough, Clav and his buddies had recently met up with a UFC fighter, and one of them even let the guy choke him out. Inspired by this moment, Clav then lets one of his buddies, Tarzan, choke him out as well, but it didn't go so well.
Let me know.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
He's gone?
I think he's gone. He's gone. He's gone.
You're good. You're good. Don't let him choke. Don't let him choke. Don't let him choke. Don't let him choke. You're good. You're good. You're good. It's okay. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
He's good. He's good.
Once again, I'm gonna premise this with the warning that I'm not a specialist, but I'm pretty sure that someone who is as chronically dehydrated as Clav should not be getting choked out unconscious at all, as that tends to contribute to bad reactions, like him writhing around on the ground over here. Unsurprisingly, Clav didn't see a problem with it because, as far as he was concerned, the fact that the clip went viral made it so it was all worth it. Following this same line of thinking, he then went searching for homeless people he could pay to chug vodka and mustard.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow.
There's like a quarter left.
Here.
Wait.
All right. She'll drink it. She got it.
Regardless of how entertaining some of these moments might be, it gets kind of dark when you actually remember that, at the end of the day, we're watching a human being slowly come apart at the seams. For example, after staying up for 2 days straight while streaming, Clav's dad calls him to try and get him to go to bed.
Hey, Dad?
Yeah.
Why are you, like, giving me all these different problems?
I'm asking you to go to sleep since you've been up for 40 hours straight.
Dad, I'm trying to make money.
Who cares about money? I don't want you to die.
I care about money.
We're just concerned about you, that's all.
No, you're not concerned about me. You're threatening me. You're like, oh, I'm going to turn off your phone service and all this shit.
It's pretty sad to see this, especially considering that both of his parents are well off, and he just made a ton of money from streaming. He doesn't actually need cash right now whatsoever. Whenever he says it's about money, I think he's straight up lying, whether he knows it or not. What he really likes, and he's shown it time and time again, is getting attention. He will put his life on the line for a viral clip because he knows that viral clip will buy him a few more weeks of lifespan in the social media attention economy. But sooner or later, the consequences of his lifestyle were destined to come back and haunt him. In mid-April, while streaming, he started going through what looked like one of his panic or anxiety attacks. However, it didn't die down and only got worse, with Clav becoming increasingly disoriented and slurring his speech. In reality, he was overdosing.
When did you last take blue? You want natty?
After this took place, he could be seen being carried by his security guards, which is when Androgenic, who offered him Adderall in the clip right before Clav goes lights out, decided to speak about what happened. Backseat Jesters. I hadn't seen him in this state before, and he went from speaking to being fairly unresponsive in mere seconds. Within a minute, we all realized the situation, turned the stream off, picked him up, and rushed him to the hospital. I haven't received an update, but that's likely a good thing. The acute respiratory depression window should already be over with, and you guys should realize that stimulants can attenuate respiratory depression in some cases, but I didn't push for it once I realized he was unresponsive. Speculation as to what exactly was the culprit behind this terrifying moment ran wild, but one Reddit user named BallSniffer2026 claimed that earlier in the stream, Clav said he and his crew were both blue-maxed and B-maxed. According to him, blue-maxed meant he was on Walter White's special supply, but B-maxed could either be GHB or BDO, which is a compound that the body converts into GHB, resulting in similar extreme depressant effects. Regardless of which one it truly was, if it was indeed one of these two, Clav was in very serious danger. Journalist Taylor Lorenz claimed that Clav would be kept in the hospital for 3 days because he was drifting in and out of consciousness, but apparently he got better fast enough to get on Twitter and announce his current status. Just got home, that was brutal. All of the substances are just a cope trying to feel neurotypical while being out in public, but obviously that isn't a real solution. The worst part of tonight was my face descending from the life support mask. Based on this response alone, you can tell that he had no interest in breaking character and being a normal human being for once. If anything, this was the moment to double down, as he had everyone's eyes on him after nearly overdosing. When he got back to streaming, he said he was done with substance use and probably won't do IRL streaming anymore. With all of that established, I think the next thing I'd like to do is focus on Androgenic himself.
And I'm pretty much known for having like a really impressive transformation. I used to be like really underdeveloped
And now, I don't know, you can look at me. I think I've done pretty well.
Much of Andro's content since the very beginning has actually been Looksmaxx related, as opposed to all the clubbing and shenanigans Clav gets up to. From what I can see, his involvement in the typical IRL streamer stuff only got started after Clav made it the norm. Since the beginning of 2026, his main gimmick has been to have his wig snatched, something that's happened nearly 10 times.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Walk out the door, you see someone that you know and they ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
One's reality might be another's illusion. We all live inside our own fantasies.
Given how much content he's purposely released surrounding his baldness, it's clear that he's not really hiding it. When his wig does get snatched, he's generally a decent sport about it, and even if he does get in some brief scuffles when people snatch it, his anger seems slightly played up for the camera, so that it becomes a #2 ranked Chad is actually bald clip with 5 billion views. Initially, Androgenic had flown to the United States to do collab content with a few people like Sam Hyde and Clav himself, but unfortunately, it seems like his time in the US of A soured pretty quickly. For example, there's this clip that's been floating around claiming that Clav cut off Andro because he was too edgy.
Where's Andro?
Like, like saying like crazy jokes and like doing certain things. Like, I'm not your right-wing messiah, okay? I'm not your like, I won't do things anymore if they're gonna be bad PR. Because like that limits the amount of girls that, and like, you know, that limits me. That limits how many I can get, really. So I'm not going to do that, okay?
But he never even says Androgenic's name in the clip, so I honestly can't tell if the Kick Clippers just took this out of context or if it's real. During a stream, Drago said that the animosity towards Androgenic was because of how he handled Clav's overdose by offering him Adderall, and as a result, they got him deported back to Australia. It was later confirmed by Androgenic himself that he was no longer in the US, but honestly, I wouldn't put it past these guys to coordinate this whole thing to manufacture drama and drum up some attention. With that being said, it doesn't seem like any of them want to be totally transparent about what happened either way. While Androgenic still tried to be cordial, the ASU Fratleader went out of his way to mock Clav.
Oh yeah, I'm not a OD off GHB. GHB is literally the most disgusting drug. Nah, it's fucking fun. It's the most disgusting potent drug ever. Like, who does that for fun? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Framemog will never end. As these rifts grew wider, Clav also found himself besieged by a series of personal life problems and rumors. First off, TMZ broke the news that Clav had turned his own dad away during the overdose scare, meaning he was growing even more distant from pretty much the only people who are connected to him without it being related to content. Secondly, rumors about him managing OF girls also rose to the surface again.
So, like, didn't his own friend come out and say that he owns an agency? Yeah. Mind you, this is not Clavicular. This is somebody I'm assuming on his team. Like, I don't... But, and the 80/20 I heard from online, and I believe it 100%. Like, this dude owns an agency, and how much you want to bet that a lot of the girls he gets on stream are signed to his agency? And that's why they do the things that they do.
Thirdly, the club Clav had been associating with, Baccarat, was swirling in concerning claims, mainly regarding who truly owned it. You see, technically, it was curated by Cece Waknin, who as far as I can tell is an Instagram model. While I'm sure it's possible for Instagram models to be rich enough to own clubs, it's pretty interesting that Cece is the wife of Hai Waknin, an Israeli entrepreneur who has served 6 years in federal prison for racketeering and extortion involving funds embezzled from an Israeli bank. Now, I'm no organized crime specialist. Just kidding. This time, I am the specialist, okay? And this sounds very much like Baccarat is indirectly run by the Israeli mob in Miami. If we follow the logic here, then Clav is now not only making money from OF girls and gambling, but also a Jewish organized crime organization. My bad, no, this is all about Looksmaxxing. Yeah, true. At the same time, YouTuber Andrew Callaghan, who previously interviewed Clav, claimed that he had heard from insiders that Peter Thiel did have something to do with the sudden rise to fame.
According to several of our whistleblower sources,
Thiel is also personally invested in Sigma boosting friend of the show, Braden Clavicular Peters.
Now, we don't know if this is true. I guess Andrew could be lying. His sources could be lying. There's just no direct evidence. But it is a fascinating rumor given that Thiel is an outspoken proponent of transhumanism, the idea of extending the human lifespan by overcoming biological limitations. With that being said, I think steroid and drug use is probably not expanding Clavicular's lifespan very much, so I kind of fail to see how these two connect, but maybe Peter Thiel just wants us all to mog. Despite these rumors, Clav had still been trying to grow his platforms, not just on alternative sites like Kick, but also on mainstream ones like YouTube. If he could grow there, then maybe he could leave the niche he blew up in entirely and just be a mainstream content creator. But on the 23rd of April 2026, his YouTube channels were taken down without warning. Clavicular has managed to recover from everything thrown at him so far, so surely he'll find a way to bounce back from his current predicament. Well, at least that would be believable, if not for the fact he just got mogged by an Indian.
All right, I'm literally ending. I'm ending if I lose. Like, I'm ending if I lose. I'm ending if I lose. If I lose, dude.
Hi, Club.
I'm actually ending if I lose.
See you later, Club.
And with that brutalization, I can't help but think that Clav's days are numbered, the ascension will no longer continue, and his descent is soon to follow. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.